Why do we want to consider the topic of occult influences in the Watchtower? Well, the first reason is that it reveals a side of the Jehovah's Witness organization that isn't readily apparent. We have these nice-looking people in suits going up to doors and knocking on them with Bibles in their hands, and we may not realize, certainly the homeowners, householders don't realize what's coming to their door and what kind of tainting there has been. And secondly, if we can show them the truth about their organization, as I said a minute ago, that may go a long way toward opening their closed minds. What we know about Jehovah's Witnesses, all of us do know that. First of all, they consider themselves to be biblical Christians. Okay, this is hitting 3 clicks at a time. I don't know why. They consider themselves to be biblical Christians. In fact, they think of themselves as the only true Christians, the only ones who really follow Scripture, and they would really be shocked at any sort of suggestion that there was any kind of connection between their organization and the occult. And I don't want to create any false impressions here. As you people know, obviously, I'm not saying that the average Jehovah's Witness who goes around knocking on doors is somehow involved with the occult personally, or that they're conducting satanic rituals down at the Kingdom Hall or anything like that. The average Jehovah's Witness, certainly when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I didn't know about any of these things that I'm going to talk about today. And I think that the average witness would be shocked if they knew all of what we're about to explore. However, the organization's leadership has, over the years, allowed their doctrines and practices to be tainted by the occult, and that's what we want to take a quick look at for the next 50 minutes or so. A major point that we need to recognize about Jehovah's Witnesses is they divide the world into us and them. There's God's organization, and then there's Satan's organization. Here's a typical quote from the Watchtower of 2001. It was also discerned in the 1920s that there are two opposing organizations, Jehovah's and Satan's. The fight is on between them, and we will be on the winning side only if we keep in step with Jehovah's organization. So there's God's organization, there's Satan's organization. Here's another one from the Revelation book, the revised edition of 2006. It talks about the satanic air breathed by the world, the satanic thinking that permeates every aspect of life outside Jehovah's organization. And so it really shows that everything that motivates mankind to support Satan in defying Jehovah's sovereignty. So it really draws that dichotomy. There's us on the inside, and there's Satan on the outside, and it's just that clear in their minds. And this is a very current book. As I mentioned, this is the 2006 revision, so this is right up to the minute information from the new version of the Revelation book. All religion, all business, all politics, everything that's not them is from Satan. And they believe that God's organization, which they belong to, is the antithesis of the occult. The occult is from Satan. This is from the book Live with Jehovah's Day in Mind, which was also published in 2006. It says, a true servant of Jehovah must shun occult practices. God never uses magic or the occult to reveal his will or to exercise his power. Dabbling in the occult can bring one under the influence and control of the leader of the demons, Satan, who is a liar and whose strategy is to deceive people. So it's really a bad thing. And they believe that there's just a hard, fast wall in between Jehovah's organization and anything that has to do with Satan, which makes it kind of ironic in a way that there's so much fear among Jehovah's Witnesses of demonic phenomena. There was an article that the Watchtower published, or a couple of articles that they published back in 1966 that stirred up a lot of this fear. It was on the topic of the attack of the wicked spirit forces. And it talked about these attacks that the demons would make against Jehovah's Witnesses. It talks about things like physical attack, mental attack, a bodily blow, a slap in the face, a throwing of one to the ground, bodily illness and pain, doctors being unable to find a cause. One may be disturbed while trying to sleep due to the prevalence of abnormal noises in the house, a tugging of bed covers, shaking of the bed, an apparition like a face, a pair of vicious eyes. Often a voice is heard that harasses and terrorizes. The voice usually suggests or commands a certain course of action, which if followed can lead to spiritual collapse, violence, insanity, or suicide. Well, what do you do if you're having these problems? The same article said, same magazine said, one under demon attack should calmly, not in hysteria. Now imagine all this stuff's happening to you, but you should calmly investigate your house and your household articles. In some few cases, the house may be the cause of the trouble, and the best thing to do is move out. Some demons delight in haunting a place. But if a house has a clean history, instead of moving out, investigate objects in the house. If you at one time practiced black magic or witchcraft or other forms of spiritism, did you burn up all articles relating to demonism upon learning of God's truth? It even goes on to say, talk about accepting gifts from relatives or persons who have dabbled in spiritism. Any kind of article from such a person can cause trouble. A radio, a sewing machine, a pair of shoes, a jewelry, a good luck charm, a bathrobe, a blanket, a book. One woman had her bed tipped up at night when she tried to sleep on a mattress given to her by her spiritualist mother. A young woman had a fever of 106 degrees when wearing a garment given her by a spiritualist. We're not talking here about just getting rid of crystal balls and tarot cards and Ouija boards and things like that, even innocent items. Jewelry, shoes, books, and so forth. If there's a possibility that someone who owned it at one time might have had an association with the occult, then those things can bring demons into your house. I knew of a situation, of course, witnesses won't go to yard sales, thrift stores, and so forth. They're very cautious about those things, as we know. I had a situation once where I picked up a copy of one of the organization books, the Organized to Accomplish Our Ministry, or one of the various ones they've had, at a used bookstore. And the witness who was with me was very upset about that, saying, why would that book be in a used bookstore? It must have been somebody who became apostate that sold it to the used bookstore, and therefore you might bring a demon into your house, by having this book that might have come from an apostate, that even though it's a book that came from God's organization. So there's a tremendous amount of fear. Another Christian woman kept a handbag given her by an aunt who was a fortune teller. Sometime keeping a letter from a spiritistic relative has brought trouble. Some persons have reported gaining relief by burning letters from persons who dabbled in spiritism. So if your mother has a Ouija board, you may want to burn any letters that she writes you, or you might find you're having trouble in your house. Now, can somebody tell me where in the Scriptures it says that Satan works against believers by jumping out from behind things and yelling boo? I can't find that in the Bible. I can't find in the Bible where it says that demons are shown to inhabit inanimate objects and can be transferred from place to place by moving those objects around. I can find that in the voodoo religion. I can find it in certain ancient animistic beliefs. I can't find it in Christianity. I can't find it in the Bible. But there's real paranoia on this matter among many of Jehovah's Witnesses. And you guys know, every congregation has a few stories, right? Anybody here been in a congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses that didn't have stories like that? And it leads me to a question. My question is, are the demons stupid or what? I was a Jehovah's Witness for 30 years. And some of you were in even longer than I was. Some of you maybe not quite as long. Has anybody here ever known a Jehovah's Witness whose faith was damaged by having the demons supposedly attack them? Did anybody ever leave the organization so that the demons would leave them alone? I never did. In every case that I knew of or ever heard of, Jehovah's Witnesses who thought they were under demon attack became stronger witnesses. They got closer to the organization. They started to do more. They prayed more. They did whatever the organization told them to do. Now, if Jehovah's Witnesses have the truth, if they're God's organization, why would the demons carry out these attacks knowing that they're just going to make the person a stronger witness most of the time? Are the demons stupid? Why would they act against their own interests like that? If the demons really are involved in these attacks, and I'm not sure in many cases that they are, I think in a lot of cases it's just the person's own imagination fueled by the things that the Watchtower has told them about demon attacks. But if the demons really are involved in these attacks, there's a more sinister possibility. They want to make the person a stronger witness. They want to drive him closer to the organization because they want to eliminate the possibility that he'll be willing to listen to the real truth about the real Jesus.